Namaskar. Welcome dear learners to NIOS Studio. Today we will be discussing the Home Science course 216 and its lesson 5, Preservation of Food. We have previously learned from our previous lessons that a balanced diet is very important for our day-to-day meal planning and how we can incorporate these meals to be healthy and keep our family healthy. So we often make sure that we eat different types of vegetables and different types of fruits. But are these vegetables and fruits available throughout the year? For example, can you eat mangoes during winter and carrot during summer? We all wish to enjoy these fresh fruits and vegetables throughout the year, and now it is being possible through the process of preservation. Now you can relish the fresh mangoes which are preserved either in the form of pickles, chutneys, juices, squashes, or even jam. So the taste of those fruits and vegetables can be enjoyed throughout the year. So this preservation of food is very important to understand how nutrition is being conserved and how these food items brings variety to our diet. In this lesson, we will be discussing about food spoilage, what are the methods that we can store the food to avoid spoilage in our foods, what are the methods through which the food gets spoiled, what is the classification of food items, and how according to the shelf life we can classify these food items and accordingly store them. Then we will also study and discuss about food preservation, its importance, what are its principles and methods that we can follow at our homes to keep our food preserved for a longer time. Later we will also understand certain hygienic conditions in which we need to store our food items. Firstly, let's begin with the concept of food spoilage and storage. So we know that food gets spoiled. It does happen because of either presence of microorganisms, because of the presence of enzymes, and the last is due to the insects, worms and rat. We will now discuss them one by one. So as you can see even in this photo that post-harvest, these are post-harvest photos where you can see certain holes, whitish powder on the rice and the green grams, you can even on the wheat as well. Why does it happen and what does this implicate? This shows that the food item or the food grains that you are seeing on your screens are being infested by either insects or due to which they are now inedible. You cannot consume them because they have been infested by insects. So this happens and we can say that this is a spoiled food now. So simply speaking about spoiled food, it means that the food is no longer fit to be eaten. As you can also see that when you keep bread outside your refrigerator for a few days, you will observe there is a spongy growth on it. You will see a green, whitish or a blackish color sponge, which is the growth is called as mold. This shows that bread is no longer fit for your consumption. Even if you cook dal or vegetables and you keep it outside for certain time, you will identify there is a foul or a bad smell coming out of it. There might be certain bubbles which show that now that food has become fermented, due to which it is no longer fit to be eaten. So generally अगर हम बात करें कि फूड जो है वो स्पॉइल कब हो जाता है और द फूड इज सेट टू बी स्पॉइल्ड इफ इट चेंजेस ईदर कलर or it gives a bad smell, or it also shows some signs of fermentation like bubbles on the food or growth of mold or spongy material on that food stuff, on the food surface as well. So these small spots or these small brown spots that you see on your vegetables and on your fruit shows that the food is now spoiled and is no longer fit to be eaten. We also see that on many products that we consume from our market, the packaged products, you will find date of manufacturing, date of expiry and best before dates written on them. If you take a milk packet from the market or a bread or let's say even dals or rice packets, you will definitely see that they clearly depict that this packet has been manufactured on this date and it is fit to be eaten on or before this date. So this, what does this show? That after the date of expiry or the date best before use shows that later on this product will be expired or will be spoiled and will not be fit for your consumption. So the food, the reasons why the food gets spoiled are three. First, as we already said, it is microorganisms due to presence of them. Second, due to the presence of enzymes which are already present within the food. And the third is from insects, worms and rat. So what are these microorganisms? These microorganisms are very small organisms which cannot be seen through our naked eyes. These microorganisms spoil the food item when they are in that condition let's say if you keep your food item outside your fridge and there is enough moisture in the air, the temperature is right for the microorganisms to grow and multiply. In that condition, these microorganisms will spoil your food. You must have seen that food items that contains high moisture get spoiled faster. For example, tomato. If you buy tomato from your market, it is highly likely if you keep them outside your refrigerator, they will get spoiled in 2 to 3 days. Why? Because the content of moisture is very high in them as compared to potato. Even the air surrounding these food items contains microorganisms. So you will see if you keep your spinach at the room temperature, they will in some time they will turn yellow and then stale. Why does this happen? This happens because of microorganisms. Even if the skin of your fruits or vegetable gets damaged, they also get spoiled very fast. Why? Because again, due to microorganisms. You will find that banana which you keep out in the room temperature, after some time it will turn into brown color and it will not, and soon it will be spoiled. You will also find food items that are let's say less in sugar or they have less salt content in them. For example, like pickles and fruit jams, they also get spoiled. Why? It could be reason that one, it got in contact with water, or it had less salt or less preservative in them. That's also another reason why the food might get spoiled. Hence, if you want to prevent these spoilage in your food items because of microorganisms, you need to remove the conditions which are appropriate for their growth. So we know that microorganisms grow if they have high moisture content or in a certain temperature. So if you remove these constraints, then your food could be preserved for a longer time, which we will be discussing in the coming discussion. The next is due to the presence of enzymes. So enzymes are the chemical substances that are already present or found in the plants and animals. Are all these enzymes harmful for our food items or food products? No. The enzymes help in the ripening of these fruits and vegetables. So you must have seen green raw mango. So if you keep it outside for certain days, this green mango will turn into yellow color and it will taste sweet. Right? Why does it happen? It happens because of the enzyme action. So the ripening of mango will later on convert it into or turn the yellow mango into a black spotted or a mango which will have a bad smell. Why did it happen? It happened due to continued action of these enzymes. So from raw mango to ripe mango, then to a rotten mango. This happened due to the enzyme action. If this fruit's skin or if the skin of the fruit is cut or damaged, again the spoilage gets faster because the enzymes also are continuously working on it, and even the microorganisms present around the fruit, they also spoil the fruit or the vegetable around them. So this was the second reason. The third reason is due to the infestation of insects, worms and rat. So you will, as previously shown in the photo of dal and grains, you saw those black insects or whitish worms on the dals, the holes in the dals. These were made due to these insects. So once you see that there are insects in your dal or in your grains, you can say that those food grains are no longer fit for human consumption. And if you consume those food, there might be certain health issues that may arise. So try to avoid these things. So you have now learned that there are three main causes of food spoilage. One, due to the presence of microorganisms. Second, due to the presence of enzyme action. And the third is due to the insects, worms and rat. in your household kitchen and in your homes and kitchens, you will find there are different food items that get spoiled at different rate. Why does it happen? Why does the food items who are more in moisture content, they get spoiled faster as compared to those who are less in moisture? For example, your let's say potato or the tomatoes that you buy from the market, they'll get spoiled faster as compared to a dal or rice that you bought from the market. So why does it happen? Because of the moisture content, right? So how do we keep or store our food items in such certain way that this spoilage can be prolonged? Okay, so one could be keeping your food items in like an airtight container where the moisture doesn't seep into that container and doesn't spoil your food items. You must have seen that cookies and snack, if we keep them loose or if the packet is open, soon after they'll turn soggy and won't be crispy enough for your consumption, right? If you keep them in airtight container, they will be fit for longer term and you can consume or you can retain the crispiness of those food items. Similarly, if you keep your pulses, rice and wheat flour in airtight container, this will again help them protect from the spoilage. Now, the next part is when you keep or when you store these food items, there is a certain shelf life also. It doesn't mean that you have once kept your dals and your uncooked rice in airtight container and it will remain safe for, let's say, 1 year, 2 years. No. There is a certain shelf life of food. So shelf life is the time for which food can be kept fresh, is known as your shelf life. It is also known as the stability of food during the storage. So food items can be classified on the basis of stability during storage into like non-perishable, semi-perishable and perishable food items. So what do we mean by perishable, non-perishable and semi-perishable? So this is the classification based on the shelf life. Non-perishable are those which include like whole cereals, whole grains, your nuts, your oil seeds, sugar, jaggery, which can be kept for a very long period of time. More than 1 month, 2 months, these can be stored in an airtight container and they'll remain fresh. There are certain semi-perishable food items. These are your eggs, potato, onions, your biscuits and your cakes, which will eventually get spoiled, but if you store them correctly, they will you can easily take out a week or a 2 weeks let's say shelf life out of them. Then there are perishable food items like green leafy vegetables, peas, banana, tomatoes, apples, breads, butter, cream, which easily get spoiled and very fast if there is appropriate temperature for the microorganisms to grow, and if the continuous activity of enzymes kept on going, they'll easily get perishable or easily get spoiled. So in this manner, in the shelf life classification, we can classify them as perishable, semi-perishable and non-perishable food items. So as a guide to consumption, now it is mandatory that a consumer is aware when the food item was manufactured, what was its expiry date, when it is best before to use. So the indications that you see on the back of the labels of the products that you buy from the market tells you that there is this certain shelf life of that food items, and if you consume the food item within the shelf life, it is good for you, and if you consume the food item after that shelf life, since it start decomposing and it might affect your health and your stomach as well. So now we have understood that what were the methods of food spoilage and what was its classification. Now let's talk about food preservation. Why do we boil our milk, or why do we refrigerate the food that we make, that we cook, है ना? तो इसके ऊपर अगर हम बात करें तो let's understand the practice of food preservation. So food preservation, it's actually a process by which food can be kept or food is prevented from getting spoiled for a either shorter or a longer period of time. So you try to retain or maintain the color, taste and nutritive value of the food for as far as possible. This food preservation also implies you are delaying the decaying process, or you are delaying the decay or spoilage of that food product, and avoiding contamination in the food, keeping it fit for a longer time. This is what is food preservation. It helps in increasing the shelf life of the food, and it also if we keep or store our food items in the correct manner, that also helps in increasing the shelf life, and the food is stored properly, it will be used in for future reuse. It can be preserved and can be used. So let's remember that food items get spoiled earlier than there are certain food items, and if we are preserving the food items, we need to preserve its color, taste, as well as its nutritive value. It shouldn't be like we are preserving the food, it is good for eating, but there is zero nutritive value in it. That shouldn't also happen. So the importance of food preservation is, one, when you preserve your food items, it will let's say if there was an excess of produce in your farm, so what will happen if you were only able to consume half of the produce, what will happen to the excess produce that you produced? It will get wasted or it will get spoiled, right? So instead, if you could preserve those excess produce, that is one important feature of food preservation. Second is, it adds variety to our meals. If you are having a thali of and consuming a thali for your lunch, which has dal, rice, a chapati and a sabzi, and if it is like a winter season and you wanted to have a mango pickle, it will add variety, right? So in December you are enjoying the flavor of mangoes in the form of pickle, so that adds variety to our food. The third is preserved food items are sent to places where they are no longer grown. So in certain portion of India, certain fruits and vegetables are grown, in certain other they are not grown. So from one place to another, if it is being preserved and stored properly, can be sent to the different parts, so that people can enjoy those fruits and vegetables as well. The fourth importance of food preservation is preserved food makes it easier for transportation and storage purpose as well. So now we understood why do we preserve. First, to utilize the excess produce and prevent the wastage. Second, it adds variety to our meal. Third, it reduces the bulk for easy transportation and storage. And the fourth is, it adds or increases the shelf life of our food products. So as I said, that it takes care of the excess produce. So if there was a farm of mango and there was large amount of mango produced that year, so what the farmer could do, he or she can make juices, murabba, squashes, aam papads, pulp, chutneys, or even the raw powder of even the raw mango powder could be made and can be used for future use. And this the taste of mango, the nutritive value of that mango can be utilized even in the later years, or in the days where mango is not a major produce. Next was that it adds variety to our meal. As I already said that let's say if you got tired of eating certain vegetables in certain particular year, as we say in our winter seasons in northern, the green peas are pocket friendly and they are in a large produce, but you cannot eat green peas in breakfast, lunch and dinner. So you need to add variety to our meal, right? So how you can do it? You can preserve these peas, and in the later years, in the summers, you can also enjoy those the taste and the nutritive value of these peas. So it adds variety in the form of pickle, in the form of chutney, or in the if you are freezing these items and using them in the later years. This will again help you in let's say preserving food items when the season is off. They will bring variety to your plate. The next was that food preservation helps the food items to be sent to places where they are not grown. So in some part of Rajasthan, where there are deserts, the Himalayan region crops that are grown in the Himalayan are not there, right? So what happens? How can you send apples to those regions? By preserving them and then sending them to the regions of deserted area. They can also enjoy those fruits, right? So in this manner, we now understood that food preservation is important for us. But what are its principle? What is the principle of food preservation? How do we do it? Now let's look at that. So when we boil our milk, what happens? We are trying to increase its shelf life. By boiling, you are killing the microorganisms. So the boiling process, what happens? You are increasing the temperature of milk. By increasing the temperature of milk, these microorganisms which were present in them, they could not survive in that high temperature, so they get killed, and due to which now the food can be preserved for a longer time. So one principle of this is one of the principle of food preservation. So either by killing the microorganisms you can increase the shelf life of the product, or by preventing or delaying the action of these microorganisms, and the third is by stopping the action of enzymes which are already present in your food. So these are the three principles of food preservation. So either by killing, by increasing temperature or decreasing temperature, third by preventing or delaying the action of these microorganisms, and as I said, third by stopping the action of these enzymes. Now let's look at them in detail. You have already understood that boiling of milk kill microorganisms. Sometimes this heat is applied for a shorter duration to kill only the undesirable microorganisms which can spoil the food products. So as I said, in the boiling of milk, which is also known as pasteurization, the cooking that you do at home also kills the microorganisms which are there, which might affect you. So the cooking process, what happens? You are giving heat to the food item, and in that process you are killing the microorganisms. When we do the canning or sealing of the canning, what we do, we bring those cans or the food items into a very high temperature, which kills the growth of these microorganisms and makes our food preserved for a longer duration of time. So we have understood that how can we kill these microorganisms? Heating is an effective manner in which we can do it. We can also kill these microorganisms through the process of pasteurization and also through the process of canning. Now let's look at the third process, by preventing or delaying the action of microorganisms. You all know that peeling, if you peel an apple, it gets spoiled faster, right? Why does it happen? As discussed, it happens because the protective layer of that apple got affected, and due to which microorganisms enter into it and they spoiled the apple. So similarly, the shelf life of nuts, eggs, your fruits, vegetables can be protected if you protect their cover, or if you protect their coating which is there, which will affect or delay the action of these microorganisms. Next was, if you package or if you pack your products in polythenes, aluminiums, they also help in protecting our food items against these microorganisms. As earlier we discussed that the air around our food or air around our food items also affect these microorganisms. If there is water, if there is air which contains microorganisms. So if you remove these constraints, what you are trying to do, you are trying to delay the action of these microorganisms and or prevent the action of these microorganisms in making the food item spoiled. So what we can also do, we can reduce the temperature. We previously understood that by heating the temperature, you kill the microorganisms, and if you lower the temperature or if you freeze your food items, what will happen? You are delaying the action of these microorganisms. And you must have seen frozen food items, right? You must have seen parathas that are coming in the market. There are idli batters, there are even chapatis, there are frozen fruits and vegetables in the market. What happens there? You are reducing the temperature and delaying the action of microorganisms. This is also another process of food preservation. So when you keep your food products in your freezer, in your refrigerator, you are preventing them from microorganism growth. There are certain even chemicals that you can use for delaying the action of microorganisms. For example, sodium benzonate, sodium metabisulfate. These also help in preventing the growth of microorganisms. These chemicals are called as preservatives. You must have heard that there are preservatives in food items. So these preservatives also help in delaying or preventing the actions of microorganisms. We will further study what are chemical preservatives and what are natural preservatives. We will be studying them. The next is when we delay or when we prevent these actions, what we try to do, or just to summarize it, you avoid the or remove the air, moisture and warmth from that food items, making it safer for a longer period. So you prevent the outer covering of your food item, you either increase the temperature or you decrease the temperature or you add chemical. Through these ways you will be preventing and delaying the action of microorganisms. The third was to stop the action of enzyme itself. So the enzyme which is already present in food, if you can stop its action, your food will not get spoiled. So naturally the habit of the or natural action of those enzymes is to grow and to ripe your fruit. So for example, if there was a raw banana, in some time it will turn yellow, it will be ripe, and soon after it will start decaying. So if this process of or the action of these enzymes can be stopped midway, then you can enjoy that fruit or vegetable for a long time, right? So how you can do it, how you can stop from a ripe banana to a rotten banana? Is there a process that you can in midway stop and consume these food items? You can see that even mangoes, from raw to a rotten mango, how does it happen? You are seeing a process, right? So how we can do it? We can in the midway either provide a mild heat treatment to our food items, also known as blanching. So before canning and freezing our food items or fruits and vegetables, you dip that fruit and vegetable into a hot water, expose it to a steam for a few minutes, and then you store it. So when you heat your milk, you are not only killing the microorganisms, but you are also stopping the action of enzymes. This extends the shelf life of your food items. So how you are doing or stopping the enzyme action? You either boil the food items, or you do the blanching. Next, let's understand what are the methods through which we can preserve the food items at our home. We will be studying about how through increasing temperature or decreasing, or either by using preservatives, and another process we will be discussing. We will also talk about the process is dehydration. So how through this dehydrating we can preserve these food items at home. We will study this after a short break. Now we'll have a short break. After that, we'll continue the discussion.
अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने।
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो।
संसाधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, नए विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने हम, अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने।
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर। दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बाटे,
कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम, अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम,
We were discussing preservation of food. We already discussed what are its principles, why it is important, what makes our food spoiled, and now we will be discussing or carrying forward our discussion with understanding what are certain methods through which we can preserve food at our home. You must have or you already know that when you lower the temperature or in the cold temperatures, the food stays for a longer time. You already must be doing refrigerating your food items, right? Why? Because through refrigeration, by decreasing the temperature where you keep your food items, you are actually slowing or delaying the action of these microorganisms and enzymes that are present in our food items. So we already do that method. It's just that now you understood the principle that okay, through lower temperature you are actually preserving the food. You all have been doing this, or this practice has been the practice has been followed for many years. So you, for preservation of food by lowering temperature, you can refrigerate your food items. You can keep your food items in the cold storage or by freezing. Also make sure that you must have observed that even if you keep your food items in your fridge or you refrigerate them, after certain time these food items also get spoiled. Why? Because through refrigeration you are only slowing down the process of microorganisms. You are not completely stopping that. So refrigeration only slows down the biological activity and it does not stop it. So therefore, the food which you keep in your refrigerator eventually gets spoiled if you keep that food item again in your fridge for a long period of time. So by freezing, what you are trying to do, by freezing, when you freeze any vegetable or any fruits, you are stopping the action of these microorganisms, which helps in increasing the shelf life of the food items. So how you can freeze your peas? This is a method or a step-by-step process through which you can freeze your peas in the winter season or in the season when they are in large produce. This entire process or the method is also mentioned in your SLM, where you can step by step follow these process and you can freeze your peas. What all things you can freeze? You can freeze brown onions, you can make a ginger garlic paste, you can make tomato purees, raw meat, fish, poultry, and even prepared meat food items can also be frozen. In nowadays in supermarkets or in market, you will find food items that are frozen and can be used for your consumptions. So when you are using a frozen food item, what are certain practices that you need to do? So if you are using a frozen food items, so you take out that frozen packet, leave it for 1 or 2 hours at the room temperature. When you leave that food item at the room temperature, the frozen item, this process is called as thawing. So you are removing the excess ice from that frozen item and it is coming back to the normal room temperature. And once the food item is thawed, or let's say the water, the ice is now converted into water, you wash it under the tap for a few seconds or a minute, then drain it and it is ready to be used. These frozen vegetables can be stored up to 6 months or a year if they are stored correctly and if they are frozen correctly. What are certain precautions if you are using these frozen food items that you need to do? Let's understand them. First, let's understand the packaging. So if you are using a polythene bag, it should be strong enough so that it withstands the food materials during the freezing process. Second, the food item once brought out from the freezer at the room temperature, it should not be refrozen. So you will see if you had green peas frozen, if you take out that packet, once you brought it to room temperature, the ice is now melted and everything. Again, if you try to refreeze it, or if you refreeze that same green peas, they will get spoiled. Why? Because you already brought them to room temperature. Now it got exposed to moisture, even the microorganisms around it, the enzymes inside which were already present, they might start reworking on it. So again, if instead of refreezing the food item that was brought to room temperature, what you should have done? You should have made smaller packets. So you use one small packet. You throw once it is thawed, you can consume it, and so the large amount of peas wouldn't have been spoiled if you would have made smaller packets. When you are repacking, or once you have taken the amount which you want to consume, you are again trying to seal and put it back in your freezer. You should exclude all the air that might have gone into it. So during packaging itself, try to make sure there is no extra air in the food packet before you seal it. The freezer should not be opened very frequently. If you have frozen some food items in your freezer, you should not after 5 minutes or after every hour you go and check your freezer. That should also not be this is also not a good practice. So this was one certain steps that you need to take care when you are freezing or reducing the temperature in which you keep your food items. What is another method at home through which we can preserve our food is by increasing the temperature. So we have already understood that by increasing the temperature, what you are trying to do, you are trying to destroy the microorganisms or the enzymes present in that food item. But do all these organisms get killed when you increase the temperature? No. Even after increasing the temperature, some microorganisms remain in those food items, and they do not get destroyed, due to which our food again gets spoiled after a certain time. So what are the methods of increasing temperature and preserving our food? One is pasteurization and the other is sterilization. So pasteurization, we have already discussed that we pasteurize milk, and the milk packets also in the market are also pasteurized. What happens? They bring the food or the milk to a high temperature and then quickly cool it down. This is the process of pasteurization. Through this, what happens? These microorganisms which are there, they could not withstand the sudden change of temperature and they get destroyed. And in this manner, the food or the food item does not get spoiled. What is sterilization? So sterilization is done again to prevent the spoilage from our food. And how do we do it? We increase the temperature of the box or where the food is being kept, and this increase in temperature will destroy the microorganisms that were present in the food. The food item is exposed to a high temperature for a longer period, and also there is a certain pressure that is being given during this process. This is the process of sterilization. When you cook your vegetables in the pressure cooker, they stay longer, or they can be consumed for a longer time. Why? Because of pressure and heat, the microorganisms that were present, they get destroyed. You must have seen sterilized bottle, equipments, and which can be used for a certain time, a certain period of time. The next process is how you can preserve your food items at home is by using preservatives. These preservatives are chemicals that can be used to increase the shelf life of your food produce, and these chemicals are preservatives, and these preservatives, if you add these preservatives to any food substance or any food item, it will increase its shelf life, and this can be done by increasing salt content or by increasing the concentration of sugar or by acids which act as preservatives. So there are two types of preservative: natural preservatives, and there are certain chemical preservatives. Natural preservatives are very common in your households. They are salt, sugar, acids, oil, spices. There are chemical preservatives as well, which is potassium metabisulfate, citric acid, and sodium benzoate, which can also be used. So the natural preservative like salt, at our home there are pickles. What is the main ingredient in these pickles? It is salt. This salt is added not just for taste, but beside taste, it has certain function into it. It acts as preservative. So if the portion of salt in these pickle is less, your pickle will get spoiled very fast, or in some time it will eventually get spoiled. But how does the salt act as a preservative? Increasing the quantity of salt in your food items, it changes its composition. So due to the presence of salt in the food, osmosis takes place, due to which the water of the food items, it comes out. And when there is no water in your food, the microorganisms cannot grow. So in this manner, the salt is used to reduce the action of microorganisms and enzymes, and thus preventing the food from getting spoiled. So salt is used as preservatives not just in your pickles, it is also used in your chutneys, sauces, and even in the canned food you will see. Salt is also rubbed on fish to help it preserve for a longer time. So as mentioned that pickles, in the pickles we use salt, spices, and oil. So you must have seen there is a layer of oil on all our pickle jars. Why does that layer of oil is being kept there? Is it just to increase the taste or something? No. The layer of oil is kept there so that the food item, the pickle, does not come in direct contact with the air, and thus preventing it from getting spoiled. So how do you make pickle at your home? You can wash the vegetables, dry them thoroughly, cut them on the clean board, mix spices and salt with it, place it into a dry and sterilized container, cover it with salt and oil, and try to keep the lid of your pickle jar tight and store it at a moistureless zone. So this is the manner through which, or the small things that are available in our home that can be used as preservatives. Similarly, oils, spices, and even mustard powder, turmeric, red chilies, all of these are very common preservatives that are there in our kitchens and are used by our parents, by yourself as well. You might not be knowing it theoretically, but now you have the understanding of it, that using these preservatives that are naturally present, it will prevent the contact of microorganisms with your food and will also prevent the contact of air. There are certain acids that are that act as preservative. For example, your lemon juice, vinegar, citric acid, which are also being used in your pickles, squashes, and ketchups. That's how they are being preserved for a longer duration of time. Even sugar acts as a very good preservative. So your jams, jellies, murabbas, what does sugar do there? It increases the taste, but it also acts as a preservative there. So the process of jamming, when you increase high concentration of or you use high concentration of sugar in your food items, you are trying to prevent the growth of microorganisms. So for making apple jams or any kind of jam, you use citric acid and to see that to see if the jam is being properly made or not, you do a doneness test to see that if the jam which you are making is correct or not. For making even orange squashes, you use potassium metabisulfate. This is a chemical substance. You also use citric acid. These are certain methods or the ways how chemical preservatives can be used in your food items to make the shelf life or to increase the shelf life of your food items. The last method through which you can preserve your food items at your home is dehydration. So dehydration, from the name itself, you can understand that you are drying your food item. You are trying to remove any kind of water content that is there or the moisture content that is there in your food items. This is the process of dehydration. Simplest method of dehydration is sun drying. You must have seen methi, pudina, coriander. These are sun dried. Raw mango is being sun dried and then used later on. Even potato chips, papad, banana chips, vadi that you use in your dal and in your sabzis. These are also sun dried. So sun drying is a very old process of dehydration that has been followed. So what do we do when we are dehydrating or when we are drying our food items? You are sun drying it, or you are forcing the air circulation around your food items so the moisture from those food items is removed, or you are controlling the heat through which drying happens. What does it do? It reduces the moisture content in your food items, thus preventing it from getting spoiled. These are certain dehydrators that are there, some at our home, and there are big ones at the industrial level. So you can preserve these food items that you can see on your screens. You can dehydrate them and then use them later on throughout the year. So from this we understood that the food preservation that we do at our home is very simple, and you already must have been doing. You must have been dehydrating, adding salt to your pickles, making jams, boiling milk and using them, freezing your vegetables. These are practices that have been followed, but now you understood the theoretical perspective, right? So with this we come to the conclusion of this lesson. In this lesson you understood what food preservation is, why it is needed, what are its principles, how it can be done at your household level. And I hope through this lesson you enjoyed the process of preserving these food items. If you have any queries, do write to us. We will get back to those queries. And with this, thank you for joining us today and happy learning.